It's the biggest movie of the summer, and the left-wing media has nothing positive to say about The Sound of Freedom. The movie is now well on its way to making over $100 million at the box office. But according to the left, the film, which focuses on the child sex trafficking industry, well, it's nothing but a QAnon conspiracy.
Some say that it bends the truth about child exploitation, and it caters to QAnon conspiracy theorists.
This film is being marketed to either specific QAnon believers or to people who believe all of the same tenets as QAnon, but claim they don't know what it is.
And The Sound of Freedom does focus on a real issue of sex trafficking. But that theme, it's sort of like that kernel of truth that feeds the QAnon conspiracy theory. Tell us how those two things work together.
These films are created out of moral panics. They're created out of bogus statistics. They're created out of fear. And with something like Sound of Freedom, it specifically is looking at QAnon concepts of these child trafficking rings.
QAnon concepts? Well, and guess what? It's not just CNN. Forbes, The Rolling Stone, and Yahoo are also fueling the so-called conspiracy theory narrative. And then there's this. Bloomberg and The Washington Post running this opinion piece, claiming the movie relied on, quote, tired Hollywood tropes. The writer admits, quote, Sound of Freedom isn't QAnon propaganda exactly, but it shows how closely QAnon propaganda mirrors common popular pulp narratives. QAnon propaganda. Clearly, this is the left's way of trying to silence and shut down one of the most heinous crimes imaginable. When did protecting children become political? This is not some newfound narrative by conservatives. Believe it or not, once upon a time, Democrats also cared about child trafficking.
Don't send your children unaccompanied on trains or through a bunch of smugglers. We don't even know how many of these kids don't make it and may have been waylaid into sex trafficking or killed because they fell off a train. We have no way of tracking them.
Then in 2014, CBS News interviewed Tim Ballard, a former undercover operative for the Department of Homeland Security. His life's work now, saving trafficked children. It's the basis for the movie Sound of Freedom. Take a listen here, where he bluntly explains how a child is sold into sex slavery.
How they find these kids is they lure them in by pretending to have a modeling agency. They target them at 9 or 10 years old. And they were telling us that by 11, they're ready for sex. They're ready to be sold.
Sold into sex slavery. In 2015, a House Foreign Affairs subcommittee held a bipartisan hearing focusing on child sex trafficking. Ballard was among the witnesses, as was former Mexican Congresswoman and child advocate Rosie Orozco, who spoke about the sex tourism industry.
According to World Tourism Organization and the International Labour Organization, about 3 million people traveling the world look for travel-related opportunities to participate in sexual acts with children. Sexual tourism affects more than 2 million children that are obligated to prostitute themselves or work in the pornography industry.
The ranking member of that subcommittee and current mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, also weighed in on child trafficking, focusing on its origins.
We know that the issue affects millions of adults and children, men and women worldwide, who are victimized across a wide range of commercial sex and forced labor schemes. In the United States and in my congressional district and in some cities, the population that's particularly vulnerable, especially the child population to sex trafficking, are kids in the child welfare system. I had an experience a couple of years ago of having a young former foster child, who told me that her experience being in the child welfare system, actually, she felt prepared her to be trafficked because she was so used to being moved around place to place, and people who were involved with her were all paid to be with her.
Where are all these people now to speak out about the truth? And if that isn't enough for you, how about this from 2018? USA Today reporting that 10,000 children a year are trafficked for sex in the United States alone. And those children are raped more than 5 times a day. So no, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is not some new narrative. This is a sad reality. So why then are those on the left dismissing it? Could they have some agenda they themselves are protecting or promoting? Let's take a look now at Noah Berlatsky, who wrote the Bloomberg and Washington Post op-ed we mentioned earlier that was picked up by most establishment media outlets. This guy is a prolific writer who has been featured by NBC, The Independent, The Atlantic, and Prostasia. Berlatsky wrote a story for Prostasia 2 years ago claiming child trafficking narratives are misleading. If you've never heard of Prostasia, you're not alone, neither did I. But after looking into it today, we found out that it's an organization that claims to be introducing a new kind of child protection, all while relegating child sex abuse to a simple acronym, CSA. The organization calls for the removal of child porn on the internet, but they don't want actual laws that would punish anyone. Their amazing strategy: prevent the abuse before it starts. And rather than, quote, merely tracking down and punishing those who have already offended. What? Really? So we shouldn't track down the most disgusting people who walk among us? We shouldn't track down those who have sexually abused a child because the deed, well, it's already done. And what did Berlatsky say about pedophiles years ago? Well, as journalist Andy No found out, Berlatsky said, quote, pedophiles are essentially a stigmatized group. Certain people get designated as deviants. People hate them. Wow, sympathy, empathy for pedophiles and hate? No. That's too kind of a word for anyone who abuses a child. What I think should happen to those people that abuse children, well, I can't say it right here on TV.